Alrighty, guys. Thanks all for calling in or zooming in. I don't ever know how to introduce the video calls, but my name is Lauren Sims, and I'm so excited to be doing a team call with the one and only Natalie Holtslaw. Most of you are her team and Rebecca's team because they invited me on the call, but I figured she was going to light it off and she was going to start, so I should open it and introduce her and myself. But we became really good friends in the summer. I mean, we knew each other from the company, but we both went to a event in Vegas together where we got to hang out and get to know each other. And so this shining light in the company is a friend of mine, and I love when I really get to know people outside of the business. But for those of you that maybe do not know Natalie so well, I mean, she has a beautiful, beautiful, incredible transformation, physically, emotionally, spiritually, with her leadership, with her dreams and her goals. And it's such a light to be able to learn from someone like that and hear her story, hear her struggles, hear her transformation, and how so many of you can relate. So she is a mom. She is the Body Challenge winner of 2015. She is building an incredible team globally. She's partnered with Rebecca. They just have such vision and dreams of where they want to go and how they want to help people. And it's really one of my privileges and honors to meet people in the company or the team that say, you know what, if I can do this, anybody can do this. And if I'm going to live this lavish life and this freedom life and this abundantly healthy life, like everybody should do it. And I've never met anybody that pours into people more than Natalie. I mean, she's someone that truly remembers everybody's name. She remembers everybody's story. And, the hundreds of thousands of people that want to take their photo with her and tag her in a photo and use her before and after pictures, it's like she knows all their stories and all their journeys. And so tonight you guys get to hear from her as she pours into you. So you there, Miss Natalie? You're muted, babe.
What an introduction. Thank you. Well, that was amazing. And it's so funny. So yeah, you and I became good friends over the summer, but I remember hearing your story at my first event, which was Seattle ICU in the summer of 2014. And you stood up and you talked about how you, before you came in, you had $17 in your bank account. And that was where I really first learned the story of you. And then to see how everything kind of wove together for us to eventually become really good friends, it's just kind of crazy to me.
I love it.
Yeah. So for those of you on, I guess I'll intro you. So for those of you on my team who don't know Lauren, Lauren is incredible. She's in Janny Elo's team and Cindy Hedges. Those are two really big powerhouse leaders out of the Northwest, really good people. She's also kind of cousins to Tracy, so cross-line from Tracy, but she is a fitness instructor. She has done fitness competitions. She's basically a fitness badass. And she hasn't been in the business that long, but when she came in, she was really, really hungry and desperate for change, and not only took the opportunity for the products, but really took the opportunity with the business and ran with it, and ran really, really fast and really, really hard, and did some exceptional things in a very short period of time. On top of that, through her exceptional leadership skills, she has 40 active consultants. Okay. So that means she's created way more consultants before. And that's the most astonishing number that I have heard out of all of the leaders that I have ever spoken to. So when she told me that last week, I was like, girl, you got to get on a call with my team and train them, because you are obviously doing something right. And that is such a testament to, I think, your leadership skills and how you pour into your team, but not only pouring into your team, but you're also painting the vision. And I think that's something that you're really skilled at, is painting the vision for the brand new people that are coming on, because you are able to create consultants in a short period of time and overcome some of those objections that most of us get hung up on. Well, I don't, I want to wait until I have results, and I don't want to tell anybody about it, and those types of things. And you're obviously conquering all of those. So I am so freaking thrilled to learn from you tonight and to have my team learn from you tonight, because it's not too often that we get to co-collaborate with people like this on such a very cool, in-depth level, and having it on Zoom is even better. I'm really excited about this. Sorry, guys, I did not put on makeup, so Lauren looks really hot. I just decided to do the baseball hat thing.
It's just because I have a date afterwards. Otherwise, I wouldn't
Well,
look like
hot
this.
date, hot date. Lucky guy.
Anyways, so thank you so much. You're so sweet. And it is fun. Natalie called me the other day and she just started asking me some questions as a friend, because that's what we do and what I was kind of doing for the 90-day game plan. And she actually, it was funny, but she's like, do you think you could do a quick video and send that to me so I can send that to my team? And I was like, no, but we should do a call with them because the chance that whatever I had said to her was going to come out right on a video, like on the spot, is just near impossible. But I said, why don't you ask me exactly what you asked me on the call? We'll just kind of repeat the whole thing. And then I said, but if we're going to do it, let's team up. And I want you to share your gifts and your talents with my team as well. So Natalie's going to kind of tackle this first part and then we're going to switch. But I think that Natalie's strengths, I mean, there's a lot of them, but that she's really should be highlighted on is number one, her ability to train her mindset. When you think about the transformation that she's gone through and what that takes, and to every single day stay committed to a goal and stay focused and not let deception seep in and not sabotage yourself and not get derailed. I wanted her to talk a little bit about that and not just her mindset for her physical transformation, but now how you've disciplined that in other areas of your life, how that's helping you build your business and how you coach people to stay on track, to stay on their goals. And even if people slide down a little bit, how to keep the long-term picture in mind. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you've done and how you help other people get a strong and powerful, clear mindset?
Sure. That's a great question. So one of the things about mindset is it's constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and it's basically a muscle. Like it's a muscle that you need to work and that you need to train to become better at shaping the mindset in the way that you want. Because like Rod Hairston says, and all of you know who he is with respect to healthy mind and body, but he says your mind is eating every day. And you want to be aware of the type of food that your mind is consuming. Is it health food or is it junk food? Is it good thoughts or is it bad thoughts? And or is it helpful thoughts or is it hindering thoughts? And I always go to what are my goals and what is going to help me get to my goals and what's going to hinder me or deter me from getting to my goals. And in every moment and every reaction and with every thought and with every move that I make, if you think about what's helpful versus what's hindering in getting you to the place that you want to be, that's going to help you determine your course of action. It's not good or bad. I don't really believe in good or bad thoughts necessarily so much as is it helpful for you to have a healthy body? Well, then you need to not eat that donut and you need to go to the gym. Is it helpful or hindering to keep track of your finances and put yourself on a budget because you want to have more money in the bank at the end of the year? So what are the helpful actions you can take and what are the hindering actions that stop you from that? And mindset, the one thing that people always go, what's your secret? What's your secret? What's your secret with respect to IsaBody? And really, there's no secret. But the one thing I can say is that I was more consistent more often than most people. And I've heard that, and I've said that in numerous interviews, but you have to be consistent. You're not going to win. You're not going to, win $25,000 because of your transformation, because you did something overnight. Like overnight does not work. If you go balls out and work out for 6 hours on a Monday and then you don't do anything the rest of the week, you're not going to have a killer body. It's the same thing. And I know it's the same thing with the business. You can't make a bunch of calls on Monday and then expect to take the rest of the week off and become a millionaire. It's not the same. So it's really training yourself to do the small, consistent actions, I think, on a daily basis. And for me, because I am a recovering perfectionist, it was really about not beating myself up when I didn't accomplish the things I set out to do in a certain day. And instead of, really coming down really hard on myself, I decided to take a different approach, because beating myself up and being a perfectionist for 31 years hadn't really worked out that well for me. honestly. When I came into the company, I was overweight. I was struggling with self-esteem. I was struggling because I wasn't financially contributing to my family, which was taxing my relationship with my husband. I was struggling to keep up with my 16, 17-month-old son at the time. Like I was struggling, and I didn't know what else to do, but I knew that I could put one foot in front of the other. And the beautiful thing about these products is that they're emotional and you see results right away. And when I started to see results right away, that's when I started to commit and believe a little bit more, because I had forgotten how to believe in myself. I was an incredible athlete when I was younger. I've been incredibly successful at everything that I did from a business standpoint. I got a master's degree. I got a huge consulting job after I finished my master's that took me all over the world, and had a lot of success. But transitioning from being, a six-figure income earner, leading a very busy, traveling, kind of glorious life, I was traveling all over, to being a stay-at-home mom, was a very big identity crisis for me, and I was kind of lost. And so I was struggling, and the way I used to cope with things was I ate. And so getting back to the mindset, it was like I would just recognize that I needed to do things every day, little bits every day. But not only that, start being a little bit kinder to myself, because beating up on myself hadn't been doing me any favors. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
My gosh, it totally does. I loved what you were saying about how instead of good or bad, it's just like that check-in. I've read a lot of personal development stuff over the last year and a half, so I don't remember where this came from, but I remember reading a quote, and it's funny because it's actually on my whiteboard behind me. I look at it every day, but it says, "Are these choices getting you closer to or further away from your goals?" And it's just a check-in, and you can think about it. And some days it gets you further away, but there's balance. I mean, the Broncos won the championship last Sunday, and I had a good time, and I paid for it on Monday, but that was a choice I wanted to make at that time. And there is that balance. And I love too about the business, how you said, because I tell people that all the time. I said, you cannot just work all day Saturday and do a marathon and think this is going to work,
Right.
that we encourage people to go to the gym 30 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week, as opposed to 4 hours one day. And you're so spot on about that. So one of the things also that I absolutely love and adore about you is that you are just a natural connector. I know you would be described as someone who never comes across as salesy. You're so compassionate, you're so empathetic, but I feel like you can start up a conversation in regards to the products or this opportunity with anybody. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here that would love to know on how you're building those relationships, both online and offline, when you're out, when you're at the store, when you're at the gym, on Facebook. And how is it that you're able to really share your story and excite people without selling them?
Because I genuinely love what we do. Like, I genuinely love these products. I genuinely love what this business has done for me. I mean, I ordered my first box 2 years ago yesterday. So, like, to think how my life has changed in the last 2 years, and I went from being this really struggling, overweight, kind of lost identity crisis mom. I mean, granted, I am very blessed. I have an amazing son and amazing husband. Like, my family life is good, but I personally was struggling. And now I'm basically the face of this billion-dollar company 2 years later. You just don't know where life is going to take you. But the thing is, you have to be open to it. Because when you're open to things and when you're open to receiving, it's amazing what starts to come into your life. So I do set intentions every morning. And this was something that you and I revisited last week. But I think about, what are the type of people that I want to attract? And I have a list of characteristics for product users, and I have a list of characteristics for business builders. And I love product users. They are the lifeblood. But right now, my goal is I'm cranking this year. Like, this is a big year for me and my team. And I really want to be attracting people that are business minded. So I'm really focusing on a lot of that. And what do I want in a business builder? Like, I want somebody who is compassionate, ambitious, driven, self-starter. And so all of these things that I want, you have to be those things. You are a magnet, and what you are embodying is going to magnetize those things to you. And it's just recently, like in the last few months, my energy has totally shifted and my team has started to pick up. I have the most amazing team that I'm working with right now. So you have to be open to it. And when you leave the house, you have to be on. And it's not that you have to be on to go out and have a life-changing conversation with everybody, but you have to be on in that you have a smile on your face and you are energetically putting out what somebody else would be drawn to. You know, I generally love people. So I go and I talk to everybody. And my goal is can I leave this person feeling a little bit better than when they entered the conversation with me? You know, and that I have that on the forefront of my mind, be somebody who makes everyone feel like a someone. You know, I have that on the forefront of my mind in every conversation, whether that's the server that's serving me lunch, to the person checking me out at the grocery store, to the bank teller, to somebody at the gym. Your interaction with every person on a daily basis, it is either going to lift them higher or it's going to not lift them higher. And I don't want to be on the not lifting them higher side of things. I want them to wonder about me. I want them to wonder, why is Natalie always so happy? Why is she always so smiley? Why is she always so nice? You know, like, you just have to love people. Like, this is a business of loving and liking people. And if you don't like people, you're in the wrong business. This is going to be really challenging for you. But I'm not shy about going and talking to people. I'm not shy about looking like a fool, because I've done that quite a bit. But the fact of the matter is, every time you open your mouth, you get to practice a little bit. And if it turns into a great conversation, then awesome. If it doesn't go that well, then likely you're not going to see that person again. But you can kind of make a mental note of, what do I need to change next time?
I love it. I hope you guys are taking mad notes over there, because that was some genius that just got dropped. I want to just highlight a few things, because I want to, things that stood out to me, but all of that was really good. But that part about, when you go out, that you're on, Janny used to always tell me, like, that I needed to dress for success, that no matter where I went, was I prepared to meet the next Susan Fly? Was I prepared to meet the next Janie Elo? Was I prepared to meet the next Tracy O'Malley or whatever? And that doesn't mean that I'm dolled up with a Louis Vuitton bag and everything else, but that does mean that you're open, that you're present, that you're, that you're smiley, that you're not getting ready, that you're organized, any of those things. And it really does start with your mood and your energy. I actually, I have a blog that I wrote, so spot on to what Natalie said, in that before Isogenics, I was so rushed all the time, and I was so negative and caught up in my own shit. Sorry. But like, if any of you read The Energy Bus, and I was like the guy in the beginning of it, but, and I was so overwhelmed that I didn't have time to even look up and see who was around me, what their day was like, what other stuff they had going on. And when Isogenics came into my life, without even doing it intentionally, there was this shift, because I was more calm and I was happier and I was glowing, and I realized how different people were to me. And I was like, the only common denominator was me, and I was the one that shifted. And now, to put intention behind that. So really pay attention to that. And if you feel like when you go in line for Starbucks, or you go check out at the grocery store, you're walking down an aisle at the mall or whatever, if you feel like people are partying, like you kind of feel like they're like, oh, I need to get out of her way. Like, they can feel something that you are doing, that they're like, whatever. And if you are the opposite, that like you go to a line and you feel, I'm not like making this up, but like all of a sudden people are getting in that line. You're like, there's no one in that line. Why are you in my line? Or people like compliment you, or they are trying to find ways to talk to you. You're that magnet. They are drawn to you. They're doing what they can, so I love that you talked about that. I think that's so important. In the intention statements, someone asked me today, who's a top enroller on my team, like, help me create consultants. And we're going to get into this at my part of the call. But I sent her a little Facebook memo back about an hour later. And I said, I keep thinking about what you asked me. And I said, I know you've told me in the past that you think writing out your intentions is tedious, or that's busy work. but I promise you that the top earners on our team and in the company are doing it, because what you focus on, you find, and you see it, and you're putting that out there, and you're inviting people in that have the same vision. You're inviting people in that you really want to serve. And so I thought that was such a key thing that you said, and just how important that is. And just like we all aren't going to date the same type of people, or we all don't like the same, type of restaurants, we're going to be drawn to different people. We want different people to build this business with, where there's different product users we want to help, but you have to create, you get to design this, like what type of organization you really want. So Natalie, I think too, I love that you just had your anniversary, 2 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But you've probably learned a lot, on, how to use the products, how you're cleanse coaching people, how you're organized and how you're building this business, that if you could give the team tonight 3 tips or 3 suggestions on what you know now that you didn't know then, or if you could go back and do differently, like what would that be?
Okay. My number one thing is going to be kind to yourself. For whatever reason, we seem like we come into this business and we don't do this in any other industry, but we come into network marketing thinking we should all be freaking pros and making $1 million within a year or 2. Stop it. Like it is its own industry with its own set of skills, unique skills that you guys all have. But if you're not doing something well, or you keep falling down, it's not because you're stupid. It's not because you're bad. It is because you have not built that skill yet. Okay? You have to build those skills and cultivate those skills, and that takes years of work. That's number 1. Number 2, I would say, is keep your foot on the freaking gas pedal. Okay? And build deep. I was taught to come on and you get to executive as fast as you can, which was smart. But, I was never told to do anything past 10 consultants. Okay. So I hit 10 consultants and I took my foot off the gas. Don't take your foot off the gas. Build friggin' 40 consultants like Lauren. You guys have the prime person to look to for that, but build deep so that when you get to executive, you never have to worry about falling out. Guys, that is where the money is at. A significant amount of money is getting into executive as fast as you can, playing in the leadership pools and showing a good example. And then number 3 is do everything with integrity, class, and grace. That will get you so far in the business, not only with attracting business builders, but keeping product users on. I am in love with our bigger packs, but if somebody literally cannot afford it, or they say they have a problem, swallowing vitamins or whatever, don't try and sell them on the bigger packs. Like meet them where they're at, and pour a lot of love into them. Use that new associate interview and checklist to help build retention. And then I guess the other thing I would add on to that is get them involved in Healthy Mind and Body. Healthy Mind and Body program, that 60-day program that Jim Coover and the team have really put together and worked towards. That's the missing key. When I used to train in leadership, we talked, and I worked in heavy industries before as a consultant in heavy industries, and a lot of that was like safety related. And they talked about having the best policies and procedures. Okay, so that's our 30-day cleanse, and we have to follow the 2 shakes a day and the cleansing and all of that. Talking about having the best products, and we have the best products. So if we have the best policies and procedures and we have the best products, why is everyone not successful? And it is that human component, it's the person component, and it's the variable. So get them plugged into Healthy Mind and Body. That's the missing component for people. I'm telling you, my mind, when I lost my first 35, 40 pounds, my mind did not change fast enough for my body. My body changed a lot faster than my mind could. I was still fat in the head. I was still having a lot of issues up here. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. So the thing that we need to do is be able to help support people on a deeper level. And if you're able to tap in to supporting them here, so that it can catch up with the rest of it, you're going to have people for life. You're going to have lifers, and the retention is going to be crazy awesome. So just those would probably be my tips.
Awesome. Those are so good, you guys. And if you don't have your notepad out, I would get it again. But, Natalie said that don't take your foot off the gas. When you're in momentum, stay in momentum. And, she said when you get to executive, it doesn't stop there. PK Smith, a lot of you know him. I hired him as a personal business coach for a long time. And one of the things he told me was, as executive, or in Isagenix, you have 2 jobs: to get to executive and create executive. And you do it over and over and over. That's really all that we do. And unlike Natalie, I was taught differently. They said 10 is just the Tippenberg. I remember Janny telling me, you want 20 consultants on each side. She's like, you want 20 left and 20 right. And she was like, and don't build another position ever if you max out until you have that and it's solid, And I'm constantly creating consultants, but they go inactive. It's not like I have them all the time, and I have a couple that fell out, in January, and I have a new one. I just hit personal manager with the reset again, because it's something you don't ever stop doing. That part about everything with integrity and grace, you guys, that is huge. Just take that lesson, and how you show up in this world is how it comes back to you. And this business is a direct reflection of who you are and what's happening on the inside. And the people that are stalled and they are not moving, it's like the only person to really face is yourself. And then what you said about having permission to learn that this is a skills-based business, it's so huge, and it's true. People are like, oh, you don't need a degree, and they see the vision and right away. And I love that you say that you have to learn the skills. And I tell people, like, when you did your first, as a teacher, like your first lesson, what was it like? Or personal trainers, their first session, or hairstylists. Like, how many hairstylists do you think screwed up somebody's hair until they got really good, And they didn't stop. They went to cosmetology school. They were going to keep going. They probably fried some people's hair, made it orange, cut it too short. Like, it happens, and they get better at it. And this is the same thing. And I would relate to Natalie so much that when it comes to connecting, like, I had a lot of screwed up conversations, but that's the only way to get better. We all fall off the bike. So I think those are great tips, and you exemplify all of them. So thank you for your time tonight and all of the wisdom that you gave these beautiful people, because there's some gems of tricks there.
Awesome. Well, and the one other little tidbit, and I'm going to write a huge blog post on this, but one thing that came to me yesterday when I was driving, and it just popped in my head, was that your goals are not pass or fail. So stop beating yourself up if you don't reach your goal within the allotted time. Your goals are not pass or fail. Okay. That is that's just something for people to think about. I don't know why in this business we start beating ourselves up if we don't hit our goals in the allotted time that we expect, or that we set out for ourselves, and then we allow that to derail us. Me being a recovering perfectionist, like, if I didn't hit my goals, I would like self-sabotage and want to rock myself in a corner, and I'm like done with that. So just think about that, guys. Cool. Well, that's enough with me. Let's get into the goods with you, because it was really interesting when we got to know each other really well and spent some one-on-one time with one another in Vegas at Amplified. You had been in the business like a year and a half-ish, something like that, and had tremendous success, but you had felt at that time, you had told me that I feel stuck. Like, I'm not moving forward. I feel stuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I like not sure what's going on with my team. Like, you had some anxiety around that, and you hadn't been moving the way you thought you should be moving. And then we went to NYKO, you and I talk a little bit like throughout the last 6 months, but not a ton. And then we go to NYKO, and I see that my girl is number 2 out of 15 for Millionaires in Action. Like, that's a huge freaking deal, from going, I feel really stuck in June, to here we are in January, and you're like number 2 in the company for Millionaire in Action. Like, what shifted? What changed for you, Lauren?
I knew you were going to bring this up. So just for those of you that don't know, Millionaire in Action, you can Google that, it pulls up the PDF, the formula. That's one of the promotions Isagenix does. but it's just a formula. So I'm not a 7-figure income earner. I'm not even close to it. I mean, I'm a 4-star working towards 5. I'm not even close to having a maxed out business.
Which is still a big deal.
Just know what that means, but it's a formula, and it has to do with how many enrollments you have, how many personally enrolled, rank advancement you have, your own rank advancements, weeks you've been paid as executive, if you've never fallen out, things like that. And so it's just a formula. But in regards to what Natalie said, I flew out of the gates. I really did. I was in such a place that I was desperate for a change. And at the time, the only thing that motivated me was me. I mean, I was like, I don't want to be on this apartment floor, and I needed to furnish things, and I wanted to get out of debt, and I didn't want to exchange time for money. And I was so driven and literally like a survival mode. And then like Natalie was saying in her story, she didn't believe in herself, and someone else started believing in me. Someone else was filling my mind with my potential and a vision of what my life could be like. And so I just kept trusting her. I really didn't know if that was true. I just kept doing what I was told. And so I was like going. I was enrolling and recruiting, and everybody was finding their too. And I really never let up. I just was doing this. And then like a brick wall, I ran into it, and a lot of things were there. You'll hear a lot of leaders say that this business will only grow to the extent you grow yourself. And a couple things happened. So the first real roadblock that I hit was right at 3-star. And that's the 6-figure mark. 40 cycles is technically your 6-figure mark. And I think part of what stopped me was that was where my money blueprint was at the time. I have 2 bachelors and 2 masters. I thought I was worth, 6 figures, but I didn't see myself as someone that would make $250,000 a year or $500,000, or like that wasn't where I was going. So part of it was I got stuck there. Like I didn't even have the skills or the systems to manage money, to budget money, to save money, to not overspend money, things that happen at that point. I also know that, you can get to 1-star, 2-star on your own based on basically enrollments. But at that point, it's a shift that you have to develop other people. You have to create new leaders. You can't get to 3-star, 4-star, 5-star and above if you're not duplicating. It's just too much to manage. And so I've heard, people say the phrase that you have to slow down to speed up. And that's part of where I was. Like, I was like, all right, I got to figure out what I'm doing and how do I get other people to do this? And that was the first time, you guys, that I was like, I got to use the tools. Like, I don't use the tools. I was a nutritionist. I could get on the phone, but I was like, other people can't get on the phone, or other people can't do a launch party like I can. I've got to use the videos. I've got to use the language that anybody can use. Someone with a high school diploma could use, that my hairdresser could use, that my massage therapist could use, that they didn't have to have this background. So part of it was in a really pragmatic side of it. But then there was a shift. I went to 4-star, and I went to 4-star probably for the wrong reasons in my super honest vulnerability thing. But I wanted to get to top achievers, and not because I wanted to go to Hilton Head, but because I feel like in Denver sometimes, or my team, like I'm the top, and that event is where I get to be the bottom of the totem pole. I'm surrounded by people that can lift me up, and I can learn from, and I can come back and pour that into my team and grow me and teach me new things. And so I really wanted to go, and I pushed this whole thing, but the whole mindset was for me. Like, how does this affect Lauren? You know what I mean? What's this going to do for Lauren? And this business is never about you, from the very beginning until the very end. I mean, this business is about helping people. This business is about pouring down. And if you want to go to the top, you've got to reach down and bring as many people with you as you can. And I also, as a third piece of this, I was hanging out with someone that did not bring out the best in me. And I don't want to blame anyone, but when you allow someone to fill space in your head, right, like Lisa DeMeo says, that affects everything you're doing. So as Natalie was saying, what's your energy? How are you showing up? I was not showing up on. I wasn't going to the gym on. I wasn't feeling good about myself. I gained 20 pounds. I was drinking way too much. Not at that point I needed it, but I was like, oh, I moved to Cherry Creek. Like, let's party. And, I was skipping meals. So I didn't feel good in my clothes. So when I was out talking to people, I was in my own head about how I was feeling physically instead of what I could do for them. When I got on my calls, I had someone else's thoughts in my head that I wasn't feeling confident in how I could help these people. I was worried what someone else was going to think about me. And a lot of things had happened. And so I started to work through that. And the first part was me. It's like when you have to face yourself in the mirror. And I was like, okay, this is me. Like, what's not working? Why am I not happy? And I went back to like my journal from when I very, very, very first started, and I had $17 to my name. And the very first time I talked to Janny, she said, Lauren, I want you to write out 10 things you're grateful for every single day. And I was like, what? You know, like that was not something I did. Like practicing gratitude was not in my scope of practice. It was nothing I'd ever been, you know, taught about. And she's like, every single day, she was like, first thing in the morning, I want you to, you know, pray. I want you to meditate. And I want you to write out 10 things you're grateful for. So I'd gone back and I'm looking at this journal, you guys, and the things that I had written were like, I'm so grateful that I have an apartment. It may be empty, but I'm not homeless. Like, I'm so grateful I have a car. I'm so grateful I have 20 jobs. Like, I might be driving all over the place, but some people want a job. You know, I'm so grateful that for this company that I think my life is going to change, you know? And over the months, I was writing things like, I'm so grateful that I bought a new car. I'm so grateful I've furnished my house. I'm so grateful I'm creating a savings to retire my dad. I'm so grateful that I have these amazing friends. I'm so grateful for this event where I got all this, you know, and I was seeing how Isagenix was affecting me. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lauren, you're focusing on the wrong things. And it took me back. And that was the beginning of, I wanted to get committed to my health again. Like, you have to be a product of the product. And I was like, well, I'm going to talk about health and wellness. If I see myself on stage of a health and wellness company, like, you better look the part, you know, like, check yourself. Like, you got to take care of yourself. The second was realizing, like, I was not intentioned. You know, I wasn't living on purpose. I wasn't practicing gratitude. And the third thing that really, really happened, I went to New Jersey, and I know some of these beautiful women are on this call tonight, and then I'm not going to cry because I feel like already I'm about to cry. But I was sitting there and they asked me to come out, you know, and help them. They were just exploding and train them. And I went out there, and it was right after my car accident, and I had a concussion, and I was again worried that I didn't give a great presentation for them. And there was a morning, there was like 5 of us in this girl's living room, and it was very intimate. We were doing, you know, the comp plan and role playing and this and that, but it was like this energy, this community. And I was sitting there, I was actually standing, they were sitting in the sofa, but I was listening to their stories and listening to their whys, and I was seeing them catch the vision, and these new team, these new builders, these powerful moms. And it was like, I mean, this overwhelming feeling of like, this has nothing to do with you, Lauren. Like, this is something that will impact other people, and you are doing a disservice by not helping more people. Like, get your head out of your own butt and cast this vision for other people and pour into them. And I just remember Janie over and over and over saying, if you focus on your cycles, if you focus on your rank, don't expect to move anywhere. You know, but the more you give to people, and when you give without expectation and you truly want something better for them, and there were these people that I was so excited about, like I couldn't want it more for them, you know, than they wanted it more for themselves, and it just shifted. And so I was really stalled from celebration basically until Thanksgiving. I've always been a top enroller. You know, I've always enrolled a lot of people. I mean, and I didn't. I had won the ISA Derby in 2014, and 2015, it was like 0. Didn't pick great people. I didn't, you know, perform. And I was like, wow, you've got to figure out what you're doing. And right before the Welcome Home Challenge ended, literally right before, a couple of people were like, well, how you doing? Where are your points at? And I'm like, haha, that's funny. They're like 10. Like, I'm not doing anything, you know? And it was that point that all of this was coming together, that not only did I really want to be a part of that, but I was like, the speed of the leader is the speed of the pack. And I was like, get out of your head, Lauren. Like, go do what you do, which is to love on people, love them get healthy, love to see them get wealthy, whatever it may be. And I ended up with like just under 90 points. I mean, it was like the last 2 weeks of December. I mean, I enrolled over 17 people. I created, you know, a consultant and 2 pirates. And that was the week of Christmas. But my vision was clear, but my energy was there. My heart was in the right spot. So, you know, I know that's probably really long-winded for what Natalie asked, but if you're feeling stuck, whether you just got started or you're halfway through your journey, or you've been here for a year, you feel like, you know, you can't get moving, or you're stuck somewhere, like, honestly, it starts with you, you know, and it's hard. It's so hard. It's like, in one way, like, we tell ourselves all these nasty things. We have this voice in our head, but it's almost like we don't really believe it. Like, we tell ourselves those things, we don't really believe it. But the things that we're stuck on, when you can really face yourself in the mirror and give yourself the tough love and hold yourself accountable, like, it's right there. And that breakthrough is amazing. And for me to be able to get clear on why I do what I do, and have it be nothing related to money, to have it nothing related to cycles, but truly all about what Isagenix does, and knowing that Isagenix has brought out the best in me, so why would I not pay that legacy on, was like the biggest shift that I had. So just look at where you are. If it's things you have to work on with your confidence, with your health, with your money skills, with your organization skills. I mean, you cannot bring in 100,000 people if you're not prepared to manage 100,000 people. You know, if you don't have if your cup's not full, that you can give and love on all these people and wherever you're at. And if you're stuck, I mean, I promise you can ask the people around you, but it's inside of you. You know where it is. You know when you're out of authenticity. You know when you're not having integrity. And, the fall, I remember Danny checking in with me. She's like, what's up with you? Are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was going through it. And I didn't even tell her what I was doing in terms of enrollments. I wasn't reaching out to her towards the end of December. And I talked to her on the phone one day right around Christmas. And she was just like, your sparkle's back. What happened? And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, you had a shift. And I said, it's these girls in New Jersey, like totally brought me back. And I think God works in mysterious ways, and, people come into your life at the most opportune time, and sometimes just show you what you're supposed to be doing. And again, if you're open to it, and I was open to seeing what was holding me back. So.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important thing that you said. Like, you were in major deception is what you were in, and being able for all of us to understand. If you haven't taken healthy mind and body, you don't know what deception means necessarily. But it's when you're basically gung ho about something, and then for whatever reason, stuff keeps coming up and is deterring you from continuing to move forward, and you allow it to move you backwards. It happens every year when people try and set New Year's resolutions, and they go gung ho for 2 weeks, and then they fail and they fall off and they stop. But you were in major deception. It sounds like you started to really realize what deception looked like for you. Like, you knew that when you're out of touch with Janny and not in contact and not talking to people regularly and withdrawing and blowing things off and saying, yeah, I'm fine, when you really weren't, like, that's deception for you. I always say, you can lie to everybody else. Like, I can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself. And that's ultimately what happens. And also realizing energetically that the people that you hang out with have a very, very drastic impact on you directly. Jim Rohn used to say that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I'm telling you, if that's true, which it is, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That you want to be really freaking picky about who you're spending your time with, right? I mean, I always say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong freaking room. Like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. And thank God for Isogenics, because almost all of the rooms I walk into, I'm not the smartest, and it's awesome. I learned something from the millionaires. I learned something from other leaders like yourself. I learned something from my team. These girls, some of them haven't even been on, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months, and they're killing it, and they're teaching me so much. And it's just, you have to be open to learning that. You can't, as Susan Sly says, let your ego get in the way, because ego means edging God out. Like, you can't do that. So awesome.
Real quick before you, real
yeah.
quick, when you're saying that, you guys, that is such an important thing. And Tracy O'Malley once told me, how can you make room for a new car if your old car's still parked in the garage? And sometimes it's not easy to let go of certain things or certain people, but you really can't allow who wants to come in your life if you don't make the space for it. If you're holding on to baggage, if you're holding on to different people that fill your space, and just like Natalie says, you don't want to be the smartest person. I mean, you don't want to be the fittest person. You don't want to be the richest person. I mean, you always want to be stretched. You always want to be growing. And think about that in any of your relationships, and I'm single now. Like, I'm meeting people really for the first time in like 2 years. I didn't want to for a really long time, for those of you that know my story. But some of my girlfriends right now are literally teasing me. They're like, Lauren, you're so picky. And I'm like, no. But I think that statement, exactly what Natalie said, if you're going to be the closest to me, if you're going to be one of those 5 people, do you merit that space? And you hear in this industry all the time, 1%ers, get up earlier, stay up later, whatever that is. And I can just say, are you a 1%er? Like, I will not be around someone that's going to draw that out of me or bring me down. I want someone to push me and lift them up. And if you look at powerhouse couples like Emily and Hayden, they're doing this together, Cindy and Michael, they're doing it. And so however that is, whether it's your friends, it's your family, it's, certain things in your house, if you just got to like throw out the desk and buy a new one, like whatever that may be. Hi, Amanda's husband. That was funny. Now she's embarrassed. Just wave to him. It's fine. He's like, oh, look at all those women. Anyways, just remember that in so many other areas. But will definitely affect how you show up every day. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that you're also you're pretty efficient with your time, and I know that you get up early. So can you give us like an overview about your schedule and what you do in one day. Like, when are you working out? How many hours of IPAs are you doing? How are you scheduling things?
Yeah, I do think that this is a strength of mine. So I'm glad that you asked that. I remember once when I got into this industry and they said a lot of people struggle because people are not used to being entrepreneurs. They're business owners. Like, they're used to being told what to do, and they're income earners. And someone gives you a list, you go to your job, you check it off, and you go home.
Right.
And this job doesn't work like that. You have to create your own to-do list, and you have to put your boundaries up. Like, when you check out, to fill your own cup, because it can run you around the clock if you don't create that. So just like any job, I literally pencil in my working hours and my off hours, so like, people know, like, Saturday afternoon and night and Sunday morning, I'm not around. If you email me or Facebook message me or whatever, it's fine. I'm checked out. That's like when I do my thing, I'll get back to you. I always do. But creating your business hours. And so if you're someone doing this part-time, which is most of you, let's just say your full-time job was a teacher and your part-time job was waiting tables. Like, when you left the school, you go to the restaurant, you would work. And when you left, you would be done. And your Isagenix business kind of has to be that same way. But outside of your Isagenix hours, what are you doing in that time frame? So this is where I think the biggest gap is people say, oh, I do Isagenix on Saturdays from 9 to 11. Awesome. What are you doing? Right. And I'm like, if you're, responding to Facebook notifications in your cleanse group and listening to a podcast, that's not going to get you paid. So what is it that you're doing? And I literally, people have seen my calendar, my schedule. I use Calendgoo. It syncs to all of your Google calendars. It's color coordinated, but I know when my coaching calls are, when my three-way calls are, when my, like my business meetings are, like when my personal development is, and it's all kind of blocked out in different blocks of time. But a typical day, I get up around 5:30 or 6 every day. And the very first thing I still do is my gratitude. I have like 3 journals full now, but I still write out my intentions every single day. I write out my gratitude, and I get myself in a really good spot, because if I'm not clear and if I'm not present, I can't offer what I want to other people. And even my workouts, they suck. If I don't know why I'm going there, I'm like going through the motions, right? But I'm not really having purpose behind it. So I get up, make my shake, drink my Ionics, true story, and I write out my gratitude, and I just kind of get myself ready. I sometimes go through Facebook at that time, but I try not to really open up social media and really open up my communication until I've done me first. And I go to the gym every day from 7 to 8:30 until 9, Monday through Friday. That's my time. People know I go first thing in the morning because I get it out of the way. Otherwise it will never happen for me. And I don't work at that time. Sometimes I get a couple text messages, or if it's urgent, I'll write back. But that way I know I'm good to go. And throughout the rest of the day, I'm available and I want to serve and I'm helpful and I'm not distracted, and I'm not worried about like, oh, I got to rush. So I got to go back and do this or that. And then I have blocks of time. I cannot do a lot of three-way calls if I haven't handled my business first, you guys. Kathy Cooper will say it over and over. 80% of your time is recruiting and enrolling. It doesn't matter what level you get in this business. 80% is recruiting and enrolling. 20% is coaching. So I can't do 10 three-way calls if I haven't done my own calls and follow-ups, because I'm not present on those calls because I'm worried about my own business. So when I get home, there's at least a solid hour that I do my own calls or follow-ups, my own recruiting or tech splits, and then I have the afternoon, and that tends to be a little slower because other people are working and, they don't do this full time. And so a lot of times I'll run errands. That's when I'll do my tech splits, my emails, I'll do some follow-up stuff. I'll create some of the documents I think are more duplicatable, things like that. And then the afternoon to the evening, I'm 100% blocked out for three-way calls and coaching calls or team calls. That's when this business happens. I'm available for everybody. And so from like 4 to 9, most nights it's back to back to back, like when people say, can you do a call? Like I send them my calendar, they fill it in, their 15 or 30-minute spot. And whether that's helping people create consultants, helping my team figure out how to do that, doing three-way calls for other people, doing team calls, because that's when everybody else is working. And I have the privilege to figure out my schedule that I decided a long time ago, like, why would I go to the gym during the busiest hours of this business? Like I need to get that out of the way so I'm available. Susan Sly, last year, she talked about 3 by 3 by 3. 3 calls a day, 3 follow-ups a day, and 3 acts of service. If you're full-time, you need to step that up to at least 5 by 5 by 5. But I check that out every single day. So before I go to bed, I write out my list. Who are the people I'm calling? Who are my follow-ups? And when I talk about acts of service, that might be when I'm in the Starbucks line, I order a coffee for the person behind me. It might mean that I text a girl out of nowhere that's like, hey, I'm thinking about you. How's your day? You know, it might mean that I send a card or flowers to someone on my team. You know, it can be small and large, but again, it's just showing your appreciation. You're recognizing those people in your life, whatever it may be, but for sure, every single day. And it's like, if I look mid-afternoon, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've only called 2 people. I mean, I go to it and I always have a list. You know, this business, you have to have a list. So I'm constantly recruiting, constantly meeting new people. I'll never run out of people to talk to, you know? And if I haven't like gone to a restaurant or been out where I've met people, like I'll take a Lyft to Whole Foods just to meet a Lyft driver. You know, I'll go back to the gym and now I'm there like trying to meet people instead of get my own workout or whatever it is. But it's like, I have goals of how many new people I want to connect with a week. And so if I'm like, I've not met 20 new people, like I need to go out. And Eric Worre always says you're not going to meet people in your kitchen. Like I go to different coffee shops all the time on purpose because I can overhear different conversations. Different people can ask what I do. I can't even tell you how many times I'm out and I'm on a phone and I get off the phone and someone next to me is like, what do you do? Because they hear me puns coaching or they hear me doing a 3-way call and they're like, you help with weight loss? And I'm like, maybe, you know, like, and I'm not even trying. But if I'm in my house by myself, no one hears that conversation.
Right.
So for sure with your IPAs, you guys, like podcasts are great, but like listen to them when you're cooking or you're in the shower or you're driving, like they come secondary to building your business.
100%. And one thing, like I'll throw in my 2 cents on just scheduling and stuff. Cause I'm a mom. And so like the evenings is when I have my kid is at school during the day and I'm cranking out my business and my IPAs and my work stuff. But my team knows that from 5:30 to 7:30 at night, when my little guy goes down, like I'm not available. I really had to put some boundaries around that because my time was getting limited. So you have to figure out what works for you. There are a couple, you know, about 3 nights a week where I do stuff, that 3-way calls, team calls like this, where I am available in the evenings. But the majority of the time I'm not available until after 7:30 or 8 p.m. from about 8 to 9. Sometimes I'll do late calls because I do have a team in Australia that I work with, but you have to figure out what works for you. But I don't care if you have 4 hours a day or 2 hours for the whole week. You have to make it count, and making it count is IPAs. That is your income producing activities. That means 3-way calls with your upline. That's enrolling people. That's, you know, that's coaching your own team, doing 3-way calls for them, going out and meeting people, the prospecting. That's income producing activities. Like Lauren said, listening to a podcast, not an income producing activity. Okay. And the last question, and this is like the friggin' cream of the crop right here. I'm so excited to hear you talk about this, because you're a master at creating consultants. You really are. You've built really deep, and to have 40 active consultants is impressive, but to know that you've created many more than that is, I mean, that's amazing. That's a really incredible thing. So like, when do you bring it up? How do you bring it up? So many people are afraid to talk to people about becoming a consultant or actually getting people on board with them. So how do you go about it? Give it to us.
Great. So I think that people come into this business, make it weird. And getting into consultant or creating consultant was never weird for me because the person that taught me how to do it wasn't weird. And it made sense to me. And so I started duplicating that. So in the very beginning, when Janet Elo called me and I was super broke and, you know, all this stuff, she was like, what do you need most right now? And I was like, a bed. And she was like, all right, get a piece of paper. And the napkin that I drew this on with a Sharpie, I still have. It doesn't exactly look like you plus 2, them plus 2, but I figured out the gist, you know. But I remember seeing $820, which bought me a bed. Wasn't glamorous, but it bought me a bed. But I remember her just saying, she was like, it's 6 people. Like, go grab 2 people and grab 2 people. Like, who's going to get healthy with you? And then make sure they find their accountability partners. And I was like, what? You know? And she was like, seriously. She was like, you don't think 2 of your friends want to get healthy? I was like, well, yeah. She was like, you don't think they have 2 friends? Like, she never made it weird. And so I didn't really know that it wasn't an option to not do this with 2 people. And so I called my sister and my mom and I was like, hey, I'm going to do this 30-day and I want you to do it with me because I don't really know it. And I know that you guys are going to give me feedback and we should do it together. And they were like, okay. And I was like, and you have to get 2 people. And they were like, why? And I was like, I don't know. This lady told me you have to get 2 people and you guys are mine and we're all going to be in the free program. So find 2 people to get healthy with. And my mom put in my stepdad and my aunt. My sister put in her husband and a good friend. And it was like 6 people, like, boom. And I remember like calling Janny back and I was like, okay, I have these 6 people, but I didn't even know how to use the back office. Like I had never even logged in. It happened in like 48 hours. So I was like, I've got all these people, like we're ready to do it. Like, what do I do? And she was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no. And she didn't know that I had like socials credit. I mean, I was like, here, I've got the enrollment forms. I thought I was going to like fax them to her or something. Like I literally had like no clue how to even use it. And as I started to understand this a little bit, and as I was telling people, so I like went to work and I was like, hey, you should do this thing and grab 2 people. And she's like, why? I was like, I don't know. Apparently it's like half off or something. Like, you don't know 2 people? Like, make your mom and your sister do this. And I swear to you, this is honest truth. I went to ICU Kansas City weeks after I got enrolled, very new. I was a crystal director and I had no idea what it meant. So I had the thing and I was like, people were like, whoa. And I was like, what is that? You know, and I remember Shannon Fisher drawing out ACMDE and I was like, oh, like that's kind of what I'm doing. Like I really didn't know. And when I saw executive at that point, I was like 31 people, like, and I only have to find 10. Like that's my spin class. Like, oh my gosh, like this, why were everyone not doing this? You know? And I went back and it was like, literally I started talking to people. So on my enrollment form, after I'm like, do you want chocolate? Do you want vanilla? Do you want powder? Do you want liquid? Like whatever. I literally say, and who are the 2 people you're doing this with? And people normally go, what are you talking about? You know? And I say, the research shows that you are going to have better results with accountability partners, much better results. You know, do you want your friend that's going to cleanse with you or talk you into happy hour? And they're like, oh my gosh, I totally want my friend to do this with me. I'm like, so who are the 2 people you're going to do this with? And then they usually give me names. Then I have them draw out U+2. I don't normally do U+2, then +2 at that point, just U+2, right? So I show them, here's your pack. And whatever pack they buy, I do the U+2 with the same pack, right? I'm like, look, like you're already half off just from 2 referrals. And then they'll say to me, well, I don't know what like about this, or, you know, I don't know what you know. And I'm like, are you open to calling them right now? Or like sending a text message or an email with me on it? Just being like, hey, you know, I just got introduced to this nutritional program. I'd love to have accountability partners. Have you ever thought about doing a nutritional cleanse or a nutritional reset? And that's in a group message or group fed or something. And 99% of the time, someone goes, oh my gosh, totally. Can you give me more information? So then you send a video and you set a 3-way call. Like it's not uncommon that I've created a consultant like in an hour. You know what I mean? I've like enrolled someone, then passed it on, did a couple 3-way calls and put all 3 orders in at once. And again, that's like my posture of like, why would you do this alone? You know? The second part of that, you know, when a lot of people will say, well, I just want to try it first. Like, I'm not going to recommend this until I know it works for me. I say, all right, let me just paint a picture for you. I literally just did this too, coming into spring break. I did this yesterday. And I say, so you and your friend are going on vacation together next month. And let's say I'm on the phone with her and she hops on this 30-day system and she releases 20 pounds and looks like a total rock star down on the beach. And she didn't tell you about it because she wanted to make sure it worked. And now you get to show up there with her 20 pounds overweight, sluggish, not comfortable in your bathing suit while she's playing volleyball looking hot like a boss. And she's going to say, well, I wanted to make sure it worked first before I told you, you know, like, how are you going to feel? And they're like, oh. And I'm like, it's 100% money back guarantee. It's a trial. What if it works great for her, but it doesn't necessarily for you? And you missed out on being able to help someone. And people start to get it, you know, or I'll say to them, like, what if, you know, a new restaurant came into town or a new movie comes out? Are you going by yourself? Your friend might like it, you might hate it, but you ask someone to go with you. Like, you don't do things by yourself. Why would this be any different? And the main thing is just showing them how to do it and giving them permission that they don't have to know the products. I'm like, guess what? I'll teach you how to do this over time, but right now, just introduce them to me. Send the referral to me. Like, you'll be on the phone with us. I'll answer their questions, you know, and that makes it not weird. That makes them not feel like they have to be an expert, so that, you know, they're not selling anything. That's one of the ways, you know, that I do it. Tracy O'Malley's 14-day talk is money, you guys. That is money for the people that are, you know, I want to just use the products first, or, you know, whatever it is, I need to have my experience or this and that. I mean, the day 5 call follow up, the day 14, their auto ship call. There's so many different times to check in with them. And when you can like predict the future for them, or like, well, I get it, but next week at this time, you're going to feel amazing. And when you call and they're like, I feel amazing, you know, it's like, told you. And then, you know, the following on day 14, when you've told them, hey, guess what? I want you to be prepared because next week when your coworkers say something or your husband says something or people at the gym, how are you going to respond to that? And then you call on day 14 and you're like, so how are you feeling? And they're like, oh my gosh, okay, so my husband says this, and this girl at work said this. I'm like, well, what did you tell them? You know? And they're like, think that you're a genie because we know that this is going to work. You guys, the products work. And so being able to plant it out for them. And the third way that I really, really do this with people is I ask them the same questions that were asked to me. You know, like I tell people, I said, you know, I realize you called me for the products. I realize you called me for our health solutions, but Isagenix has 4 solutions. You know, we focus on weight loss. We focus on energy and performance. We focus on healthy aging, but we also focus on wealth creation. Then I'm doing you a disservice if I don't share this with you. You know, this is the part of the company that has impacted me most. Our mission statement is to free people from physical and financial pain. And I would love to know if there's anybody right now in your family budget that could benefit from a few $100 or $1,000 in the next month. You know, and people are like, what do you mean? I said, if there was a way that you could generate a couple of $100s, you know, I mean, most marriages struggle because of finances. 50% of those divorces would be saved by $300. You know, I know what it's like to exchange time for money. Is there anyone in your life, anyone in your family that could benefit? And the people start to open up to you. And I said, what is it that you want most right now? Like if time and money were of no issue, what would your life look like? And I start to just ask the questions. People tell you, I've not been on vacation in 10 years. I'm like, really? I'm like, where would you go? Who would you take with you? How long would you stay? And now they're not focused on if they're selling something. They're focused on this vacation that they want to take their family to. And then I start working backwards. I'm like, well, what's the cost of that trip? When would you like to do this? I'm like, okay, so I want to figure out how we're getting you to Hawaii at the end of 2016, right? This is going to be our roadmap. And getting people to really feel what this opportunity will do for them. And I tap into it right away. And I'm not shy about it because I didn't come to Isagenix for the products. They work. I love them. I use them every day. But I 100% came into this for the opportunity. And I know how many people suffer in silence. I mean, I have thousands of people on my team that have shared with I just got a text message about this call. Sorry. I've had thousands of people share with me stuff that they wanted. And the best feeling in the world is when it comes to fruition. You know, people that on the outside, they look great. You don't think they have debt. You think they have this perfect life. And you find out how much they're suffering in silence. And I had a girl that wanted to take her family to Disneyland. The best call, except for maybe the first time Eric Coover called me, just kidding, was when she called me in the car with her family road tripping to Disneyland. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to Disneyland. And it was like, you know, I was bawling. You know, I know people that have remodeled their kitchens, people that have paid off credit cards. Like I literally over Christmas, a girl sent me a Christmas card and in it was a copy of the credit cards paid in full. Like she was like, we're debt free because Isagenix gave them money to pay off their credit card, you know, obviously as a result of helping people. So I just don't shy away from that conversation. And when you really, truly get service leadership, when you really, 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 truly get that this is not about you, you will not be intimidated by the conversation. If you're not sharing the vision with them, if you're not creating consultants on purpose, it's because you care more about what they think about you than what you can do for them. And I just know that as leaders on this team, you guys, anybody can do this. As passionate business builders, as passionate product users, wherever you may be, you've got to just be so clear that this came into your life for a reason. You're on this call right now because Isagenix impacted you, whether it's physical, it's financial, some way, somehow, culturally, you know, community, it has impacted you. And it's brought you to a better person. It's lifted you up. It's brought out the best in you. That's what it does. And so why would you keep that from somebody else? And why would you allow them to keep it from somebody else? So my conversation goes so much further than, oh, well, if you get 2 people and then you get this money back and, you know, you don't pay for your products. Like, yeah, that's a piece of it. That's a piece of it. But I say, what if this vehicle not only gets you incredibly healthy, but is also the door opening, you know, it's like the gate key opening to a life that you've never even imagined, you know, and being able to just get people to see what that could look like. Because that's my story. I was so stuck. And if Janie had not done it, you guys, and for those of you that don't know my story, I mean, how courageous of a call for her to make. I mean, I had literally lost everything. I found out my dad was really sick. I mean, I was in between jobs. I was broke on this brand new apartment floor, and someone had been prospecting me. So in hindsight, I think Janny had called them being like, whatever happened with that nutritionist, they were like, oh my gosh, she's never going to do it right now. Like XYZ just happened in her life. Janny was like, give me your number. I'm going to change that girl's life. Give me your number. I'm going to call her right now. And you guys can hear that posture of where she came from. But Janny didn't, bring me in because it was going to affect her business. Janny knew what this did for people. Janny saw the vision. She wanted to free other women. She wanted them to have the life she's always had. And she's like, what do you need most right now? And I told her, she's like, this is what we're going to do. And so 9 out of 10 times, that's what I ask people. I said, I'm going to get you healthy. This 30-day system's going to work. But I'm going to ask you one thing before we get off the phone. What do you need most right now? And people are taken back. They're like, what? I'm like, I'm just curious. What do you want most right now? And no matter what it is, I incorporate the opportunity because I know Isagenix is going to make those dreams come true.
So I was like writing mad notes, and then I was like trying not to write mad notes because I was trying to focus on what you're saying. So I was like this the whole time. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to this recording. But 3 things that I wanted to point out to everybody there. I mean, you guys can watch her and like feel her energy coming through the computer. And it's the same way with Lauren on the phone. Like that is energetically how we need to be. Like it amps people up, it fires people up. Like, and her posture is so solid. She has got the freaking posture. She's got the energy, the posture. And one of the best things that she did, and she did a lot, is she asked questions. She asked open-ended questions. She asked leading questions. So from what I know about my background in psychology and both my degrees in psychology and brain science is your brain is triggered and turned on when somebody asks you a question or when you hear a question. You can't not answer it. Your brain will automatically start looking for that answer. Even if you are like run into somebody in the grocery store and you're like, God, what was their name? What was their name? What was their name? It's not coming to you right then. But 2 nights later, you wake up at 2 a.m. and you go, oh, that was Tom from work. That is because your brain was literally still searching for that, even though you weren't consciously thinking about it. So your brain is triggered by questions. One of the best things that you can do is become a great question asker. Open-ended questions that lead people. And that's something that Lauren did supremely with the examples that she just gave us. Her posture is obviously really, really solid. And you have no doubt that her leadership is service-based. I have no doubt that when I hear her, that is she trying to make a sale or does she really freaking care about me? And you know what? Nobody should ever question that because it is always about the person. It is always about what's best for that person and taking care of that person. It's never about the sale here at Isagenix. It's just not. So girlfriend, I'm going to have to go back and take a mad bunch of notes on this, but that was solid gold right there. I just absolutely love that. And how you're just really, really direct about it. Like you're not shy about it. There's nothing to be shy about. And I think sometimes we get weird and we need to stop being weirdos. We need to just be people that love people. And we know what's here for everybody. It's time to share that with people. So
I love it. This was such a treat and so fun, you guys. I know we're a little bit over the hour. If anybody has any questions or quick comments, I mean, I've got just a couple more minutes. I can hang on. I don't know about you, Natalie. I mean, if you guys need to get going, we definitely feel free to hang up. We'll post the recording. It takes like an hour, to kind of upload into like a savable file, and then we'll get it up to our YouTube channel. So you'll get it by this weekend. If it doesn't happen tonight, don't freak out, but I'll get it to Natalie sometime tomorrow and it'll be up before this weekend, and, pass it on to anybody. It doesn't matter who in the company, anyone that can benefit from this. But if anybody has any questions or wanted either Natalie or I to repeat something, or there's something you want to ask us, I mean, I can hang on for a couple more minutes. Just make sure you unmute at the left because we can't hear you.
You're welcome, Eric. No, you guys all good? Thumbs up if everybody's good because I'm looking at you. Yeah!
Lauren, I just wanted to tell you, I really appreciate your authenticity and your passion for people, not just your team, but everybody. And it shows when you talk. So thank you.
Love you, mamas.
Everybody good? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's so nice to see your faces. I know everybody's, I'm absorbing it all too, Nicole. Like, I'm trying to take it all in. Awesome. You guys, this was so fun. We're going to have to do another one of these calls, babe.
For sure. Absolutely. All right, you guys, I'm going to stop recording and end the meeting, but thank you guys all so much. Have a wonderful night. I know it's super late on the East Coast, but we'll do more. And thanks for all of your hard work, and just dream big and have a ton of fun. Bye, guys.
Bye.